Now, as we know, corruption has been described as endemic not only in Nigeria but across Africa. From our perspective on that story, we're joined live in our Nairobi studios by Sebastian Gatimu. He's a researcher in the Governance, Crime and Justice Division at the Institute for Security Studies here in Nairobi. Sebastian, thank you. Let's start off with Nigeria, though. Is President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption drive a real attempt to root out corruption? Or is it a means to get former President Goodluck Jonathan's allies out, as some have been claiming?
Okay, thank you for having me here. Yes, President Buhari is trying his level best. Remember, he has just been inaugurated as the president for Nigeria. And to fight corruption, you have to start from somewhere. And the efforts that he's making, we have to rally behind him. Though, to some extent, yes, there will be all those kind of like sentiments in terms of like, yes, you're following up on maybe your predecessors, people or something. But we need to commend the effort that he's doing because corruption is a big issue, not just for Nigeria or even for Africa. And we have to start from somewhere to fight the menace. To me, I think, yes, it's a step in the right direction, but we need to see more in terms of cracking down even the historical corruption practices in Nigeria, which should be replicated actually in even other parts of Africa. All right.
You mentioned there that we need to see more, and corruption, of course, is quite endemic in Nigeria. Some may even consider it a way of life there. What's your take on that? And as you mentioned, though, how can it be tackled more effectively?
Corruption, to some extent, I wouldn't really say like it's a culture as people have put it to be. It's a way of life that has been, you know, aggrieved by some few rich civil servants, business people, and others. But African culture, as it was or as it is, has been free of corruption. To me, tackling corruption, we need to fight it in all ways. For one, whatever we have reached to date, when you look at the institutions that are fighting corruption in Nigeria and in other parts of Africa, for example, they have failed us tremendously. And what we need to see moving forward is strengthening those institutions and having a serious commitment, especially from the leadership, in terms of tackling corruption. Secondary is engaging communities, people, citizens, in the fight against the graft. People know exactly what is going on within the government offices, within businesses, and other areas, but they are never involved.
You're talking about having commitment, particularly from the top leadership. Kenya, too, is cracking down on corruption. A number of top government officials have stepped aside over allegations. Do you think Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta, though, is doing it effectively? Yes.
The problem with the Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta is like, and this is also replicated also in Nigeria. Looking at the situation, where a president comes and then you inherit a whole civil service institutions that have been laced with corruption, it becomes a little bit difficult to fight the graft. But when you look at the commitment of President Uhuru Kenyatta, yes, we can say there is will. But the problem that we're having is that the institutions that he's using to fight corruption themselves have been accused for quite some time of being corruption or being enablers to corruption itself. And therefore, this raises issues from Kenyans, like how far or who will come to save the masses. Yes, the president is willing, but the institutions, including the judiciary, the parliament, the civil service, the executive, you know, they have been touched here and there with corruption. And the only thing that Uhuru can do is to involve, to have a consistent campaign involving the citizens to rally behind him in terms of fighting the menace. But if he fights it alone, I'm telling you, this war will not end.
But there are lessons, though, that can be learned from other countries like China, who have also been rooting out corruption. What lessons can Africa take from other nations when it comes to the war on graft?
Yes, a lot of lessons, actually, especially from China. China have for years been known for not tolerating corruption. Recently, with the current president, we've seen what has been happening in terms of following up the historical graft allegations and you know, reaching out to those who are suspected to having corruptly gain their wealth and run away to other countries like in US. And this is what we need to start seeing African leaders do in terms of following the stolen assets, following up on those who corruptly got their wealth and getting that wealth back to the public. And this will be the lessons that they'll be very painful, but it is the right journey to walk in if we'll actually fight corruption. But letting it down like that without tracking the history of corruption, without tracking the corrupt individuals who have actually penetrated the political realm of African politics, making it very difficult for African government to fight corruption, will not succeed.
All right, Sebastian Gatimu, thank you very much for your insights. He's a researcher in the Governance, Crime and Justice Division at the Institute for Security Studies here in Nairobi.